Welcome back, everybody, to Flight Path. This is your weekly R&D podcast with myself, David, co-founder and CEO of Tern, Brad, head of design, Molly, head of product, and we are going to be talking about all things Tern. If this is your first time listening in, we talk every week about what we've shipped that week in Tern. We give you best practices on how you can best use the Tern technology to grow your business. And we give you kind of a sneak peek behind the scenes look into what it's like building a technology company, how we're listening, learning, and building for you. So go ahead and click on that subscribe button, leave us a comment with what you think. And as always, we've got a fun show. We're actually recording this about 24 hours earlier than we normally would because tomorrow we've got a whole bunch of things going on from a conference perspective. So it is a Thursday evening podcast recording. How have the first 4 days of the week been? Molly, we'll start with you.
Well, I'm kind of bummed we aren't recording this tomorrow because I would get to brag that I left the house. So I'm actually getting coffee with a Tern teammate. I'm only going a 5-minute drive away, but it's going to be a real highlight. I'm like already looking forward to it. So
Well, okay. I do want to just say that we talked about telling people that we're recording this early so that we don't get credit for the stuff that happened tomorrow. And then you just kick off with credit for something that's happening tomorrow. I mean, I don't, this
just like
seems.
that is the biggest part of my week is that I'm leaving the house. But anyways, I guess there's other things that I can talk about. So yeah, there's some cool things. Like actually, both of these things happened today. The first was our new designer Ursula is working on designs for our client mobile app because we're going to be really leveling up the client mobile app. And she did a prototype that we could open on our phones, and I was like playing with the new designs on my phone, and it was just like blowing my mind how much better it is. So I mean, we still have to build it, of course, but it was just like really exciting to like start to see even some of like the early things that we think we can do that will go a long way to just improve the overall like polish and professional feel of the app. So that was really exciting. Um, and then I had this really, it was like a highlight and a low light. I had this, Brad and I both do new user office hours where typically new users will sign up with our support team, but like Brad and I will make our calendars available for parts of the week so that we get a basically like an inside look into new users like struggling to figure things out because that's so helpful for us to improve like the usability and intuitiveness of the product. And it started out so tough because like she had spent money on an assistant to get content built in Tern, and she just like really had not been able to get off the ground for months and months. She just like hadn't devoted the time and like was getting lost when she did. And we dove in and I had her share her screen. I was kind of guiding her through. And like not only did we like accomplish a lot and now she's feeling we actually booked more time for next week, but like she's like, okay, wait, I can do this. And like she got a cruise like fully planned, but also just gave me so much just so many ideas on just like the things that trip people up when they first log in and try to even just like do basic things. So I don't know, just constantly reminded on how important those sessions are. And we have work to do, but like when it was also cool, like when the things clicked, it was like, oh, she gets the power of it, like, and she gets why she signed up. We just have to like get them over the hump. And yeah, so it was like a really good learning experience.
Okay, first of all, I didn't know about this clickable mobile app prototype, so I'm gonna need the link for that, I think maybe. And that those like user calls we've talked about on the podcast before, just like this kind of focus we have on like how do you make this more intuitive, but like the kind of cliche or the term I guess we came up with leaning this thing, like those can be both really exciting when you see the aha moments and also like you know
Yep.
a little bit of thing. So Brad, that brings us to you. How was the first 4 days of your week?
Oh, it's been a roller coaster. It's some really high highs, and unfortunately today I had two user calls that like I just like couldn't. It's like explaining tedious workarounds for things that we just like know need to get better, and it's a lot of the like, yeah, I know this is hard. Like, let's like figure out the right way to do it, and just like seeing somebody real time kind of be like, oh, I thought you were gonna just fix it for me, and I have to like learn how to do this. It's like it just makes it really tangible and real, and it also makes me want to fix those things even more and like go in and invest more time. So I was immediately in Slack being like, guys, how do we do this the right way? Like, can we make this better? So both energizing and like a little kind of just like draining to be like, I wish I'd have the better answer. I'm a bit of a people pleaser, so I wish I could like help, not just be like, yeah, I know, like let's get you as close as we can,
Sorry.
but
Yeah.
it's not fair.
Oh man, I can't help myself and insert my philosophical ramblings on company building and like why it's so important that I know I've talked about this on the podcast before, but like what Brad is describing of like hearing the user pain firsthand and then being one of the people who can fix the user pain, we will not lose that as we scale. Let me tell you, like we're not going to have like a separate split out team of user researchers who are then like giving their findings in a deck to us. Like I'm not discounting that role in some organizations, but that is just not how we're going to build things. Brad and I will hear concerns firsthand and like make that happen. And any product and designer on any team will do that because nothing makes you solve it fast and well like hearing it firsthand. It's just like, yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway.
when somebody's looking you in the eyes and they're like, you can help me, right? And you're like, I really wish I could. Like, I'll do my best. Yeah.
Yeah.
Molly sort of like took what I was going to say too, because I do think like what you're hearing here is actually like pretty special. Like and it's something we've tried to infuse across the leadership team at Tern, right? It's like one of the reasons I prioritize like going to so many events is like you get these conversations and this real-time feedback, right? Like people will tell you what they think about your product and your team and your business and after maybe 2 or 3 drinks at the bar in a way that they just like don't do over Zoom, or certainly that you'll like lose if you're just looking at reports and like top level metrics, right? There's something about the human connection that drives better decision making. It drives urgency, and it's really special. I mean, there's like not that many companies, especially that are growing as fast as Turn is, where like you've got a head of product and a head of design who are like, yep, like I'm just going to make my calendar available to anybody who's joining the product for the first time who needs to schedule time, and like I will onboard them as a way to figure out how to make it easier. So I think it's a roller coaster, but the like moments like that where you're like, oof, like you feel the pain, you have to say there's like here's a tedious workaround, is like actually what makes Turn so special and work as well as it does. Is that I I just don't know that there's that many other companies generally, and certainly not in travel, that have that level of commitment to making that happen. So I think that's really special. Definitely can be a roller coaster. Um, and speaking of events, I'll kind of wind down the update section. One of the reasons we're doing this on Thursday instead of Friday is I'm here in Cancun, actually, at the Romance Forum. This is our first time at this event. And if you aren't familiar, that it's all about destination weddings and focused on finding suppliers and all these pieces. As far as I can tell, we are the only technology platform here. And it's really an exciting opportunity for us to tell the story of how our groups platform has evolved from non-existent when this event was hosted last year to now I think is like pretty confidently the best platform in terms of user facing client experience, group management. And we'll be, kind of talking a little bit about some updates in the podcast today. We'll be doing a live stream by the time this has happened, where we're going to talk about 2 major updates that have come to that platform and really kind of giving an overview on just the ways that people can use Turn and some other tools to really manage their wedding business. So really fun. And again, just meeting with users, meeting with people who have been thinking about Turn. It's always just kind of a neat opportunity to think about it. So that's my week. The other highlight is I just got off a webinar with Travel Planners International, TPI for short. It's a host agency. And we announced our first ever large scale host agency partnership where TPI is basically put in a fair amount of kind of financial commitment to lower the cost of Turn for every one of their advisors. And so that was just such a kind of fun opportunity. We kind of got to know the team there over many really months and over years now. And so not only will they have this kind of financial commitment, but we're working towards integrating with the signature back office so that their advisors can use Turn. They can do one-click booking into the back office, like all of these pieces. So that was really pretty fun milestone that our first I call it like enterprise level host agency of that kind of structure has taken off, and joins Legato as kind of our other major host agency partner, and of course many other smaller to medium sized agencies who are already running their entire office on Turn. So it's really, again, just these kind of like partnerships are cool milestones and to show that like this is working. Turn is having the impact that we want. And even though every day there will be that kind of highs and lows of things we want to get better, and kind of the high standard we hold ourselves to, it is really fun just to see how it's it's kind of coming to life. And I'll do a little shout out here, feeling kind of sappy, but like the people listening to this podcast are the reason that this is happening. Like we jumped into that kind of TPI webinar, and before we even announced that it was Tern, people in the chat were like, "Oh, I hope it's Tern. Like you need to work with Tern. Like please." And like the community, the followers, the people like that are cheering us on, that are giving us feedback. Like we say this a lot, and it's because we mean it from the heart. It's like this is the best industry building, and the community is incredible. So like, thank you. When we celebrate these wins and these successes, it's only possible because of the folks that are listening to this and the folks that give their time. So anyway, unscripted, like thank you, but it's just how I'm feeling right now. So it's pretty special.
And David, just one quick thing. I think you said we're exploring integrating with the signature back office. Did you mean exploring integrating with the TPI back office? Or were you did
So
they
the TPI back office, actually, they've got their kind of homegrown custom system. And so we actually will be integrating with that over time, but they will also be using Tern to allow their advisors to sync with Signature. So this will kind of be like a multi-step process, but we announced the Signature integration, obviously, a couple of weeks ago, I guess now. So they'll kind of be this like pretty cool example where if you're a TPI user over time, you will be able to use Tern as your system and be able to have all the data just flowing where you need, really eliminating so much of that invisible work, which we think is pretty cool. That's what it's all about.
Work. Love it.
Hashtag invisible work. Okay, let's move on. Keep this show on the road here. We, despite it being Thursday afternoon, got a lot done this week. Friday by the time people are listening. Molly, kick us off with the biggest feature that we have shipped this week.
This week, yes. So as soon as the webinar was done and we shipped like 5 or 6 features, we were like, okay, wait, we have the romance forum and we have these like 2 major groups features that we need to ship before that to make a big splash there. So the first of them is really exciting, which is occupancy-based pricing. And the reason that this matters, I'm sure most advisors listening already know, but when you're working with suppliers, often, hotels and rooms and, cruise ships and stuff are priced differently depending on the number of people in them, because, it might be if it's a single person joining, they're also not partaking in all of like the food and drink and, all that good stuff. And so it'll be priced higher for single occupancy versus double, triple, quadruple, etc. Previously, before we had this feature, people were having to do some pretty hacky things to support it, like basically creating the same room over and over with the different rates and then like putting the rates in a table on their group landing page and stuff like that. And so very excited that now in turn, you can actually just like set up the different occupancy rates per room option and clients can pick from it and will dynamically adjust the rate depending on the number of travelers. So it's going to be really exciting. People actually discovered it, again, I think it was like an hour after it launched on Facebook and we're celebrating it. And so pretty fun.
The Facebook detectives this week have been like really funny. Like I saw somebody post like, sorry if this is like old news, but did anyone see this? I think we'll talk about this specific feature later. I'm like, that's been out for approximately 38 minutes, so I wouldn't call it old news yet. But yeah, so shout out again to the Facebook detectives. Brad, what are your kind of thoughts on this? Like, it was kind of an interesting problem. I think like this is one of those classic examples where you really need this functionality, but it adds like there's a lot of moving parts here, like a lot of potential complexity. Like, how did you think about it from a design perspective? Any thoughts you want to add there?
I have thoughts for sure. My main thought is this is one workaround I'm so glad to no longer have to try to explain to people. You want to do occupancy rates? Please put multiple room options, one for each variation of how many people could possibly be in that room. Like, wild that people did it because they like loved everything else so much. So, like I'll make do. But yeah, it is quite complex. We talk about pricing complexity all the time on the podcast, just like the number of different ways you can price activities and packages and trips in Tern, and you have to handle that complexity on our side to like try and make it seem simpler to both you and your clients. And so we basically added another layer here. We already had like you could price per room or per person, and you could do all of those things per night or total. And now we're like, okay, let's also allow you to do it based on the number of people in that room. So there's like layers and layers and layers of different pricing logic that exists now. But it's really valuable to, one, make sure when you're collecting authorization that you get the exact price for that room based on the number of people. There's no more potential error where somebody's like, oh, I put 2 people, but I accidentally authorized the price for a single person. I have to go back and redo it. It's just like you can set it up so that, well, one, you can limit what occupancy actually exists for that room. So if you're only selling double occupancy cabins or rooms, you can just set that rate up. And if people try to sign up with 1 person or 3 people, it won't let them, and it'll tell them like, hey, reach out to your advisor. This is not like, a flow you can just go through and pick your own adventure and mess things up for them. But yeah, really excited about that. And it's actually pretty simple for you to just put in a price for each room or for a room, depending on the occupancy. And your clients will just see one price. They'll just see whatever price actually applies based on the number of people they've assigned to a room. And yeah, it actually feels pretty smooth now that it's all working end to end. It's like one of those things that kind of just works now. So pretty excited about it.
And it's really cool, right? I mean, going to that, like, how do you make this complicated thing feel simple? Like we were kind of going through in preparation for the kind of romance forum presentation, and it's really smart. Like if you put in 4 people, right, and you like are thinking about it, it can actually like show you, here are the rooms that can fit 4 people. Like here's how you can break it up. Like I need to add a room. So I had 4 people on my trip, and it was like, this is the room that will fit 4 people. But I could add another room, and it's like, oh, now you can start to break it up and change how you're like allocating those, and it will then make sure that people are seeing the pricing and kind of structure of room assignment based on like what's actually been set up on the back end. And again, it's just one of those things where people talk about in technology, there's sort of this like fear of building booking because booking is like really complex. And it's like the more features like this we build, we're like, yeah, it's actually pricing that's really complex. It's like, well, what's available in what format and like how much does it cost? And but it's really cool how it kind of came together.
Yeah, and we should mention that right now we do not support rates for children or pets. Maybe someday we can price per number of dogs in the room, but actually we do know that child rates is pretty important to people, and so that's on our mind, and we'll be just fielding feedback around that and prioritizing it. Hopefully soonish. We're doing a lot of roadmap planning, so we'll see where it lands. But like, yeah, definitely let us know if that's a key component for any workflows you have, and we'll take it into consideration.
Molly, were you gonna add anything on that?
I was literally going to say what Brad just said.
There we go. We're all on the same page. We like are kind of sealing what we're gonna say today. I feel like that's
And
the
also, I
theme of
don't
the
know if
podcast.
the no kids, no pets joke lands outside of our
Oh.
internal meetings,
Yeah,
but
we may want to explain on that. Yeah.
I don't even know what the explanation is. I think it became a joke when we were asking for what functionality we have, and so now people just say that in meetings.
Yeah.
It's just become a trope. Well, and like it is because people asked, like, "Hey, we're going to support this," and I think like 2 or 3 people asked, and so that it was like no kids, no dogs, right? And
Yeah, I'm not sure
and
anyone
that
ever asked about dogs. Maybe ChatGPT was like, "Have you considered pricing for
right.
dogs?" And we were like talking to it about requirements, and we are like, "No, we've not. I don't think we need to."
I saw like we joked, but like I went down this whole rabbit hole of like there's these like resorts in Mexico that like they have like dog. It's like bring your dog, and they like have the fancy bed and everything like set up for them and like diet doggy spot. So like, and there's doggy rates. Like you can pick. Do you want the like gold spa package for the dog? But that's probably not going to bubble to the top of the candy request anytime soon. I imagine. I think that's a pretty niche interest group. But we'll see. Let us know in the comments if you want per dog pricing, and we'll consider it as a anything for the YouTube engagement. Anyway, moving on. So there's some other stuff we did as well, which is more of the quality of life updates. And you can see Brad kind of nodding his head. We did axe the theme song, but so you're all just gonna have to play that in your head. But who wants to start with the kind of quality of life stuff and some of the pricing updates?
Brad, do you want to start? And then we'll like go onesie twosies.
Sure. Yeah. So the first one on this list, we described as clean pricing inputs, which is a great label for this. Basically, what this means is that now, when you click to add a price to something, you no longer have to remove 0.00 in order to start typing in. So you don't accidentally put something as 1,000th of a cent when you meant to put $1,000 because you didn't backspace. You don't have to like worry about that right now. What we do is if like what we call a currency field has a value of 0, we just don't show anything in it, first of all. It's just clear that you never typed anything in there. And when you when you click in, you don't have to backspace anything. You can just type whatever you want, and it just works. I don't know if anyone's found this on Facebook, but the amount of people who used to scream about it, I think, is probably like that will just go away, and we'll see if people will notice now because we're talking about it. Hopefully, there's some celebration. But Tyler, one of our newer engineers, did this, and it was really cool. Just like, I think the initial ticket was like auto select the zeros when you click in so that it's easier to like overwrite them and backspace them. And as we talk through it and like some of the technical details, we're like, why are those zeros there in the first place? It's like, we should just not have them. Let's just make it cleaner. And so you can just click in.
So clean. So fresh, so clean.
I was just trying to secretly scroll through because I feel like I did see somebody call out that the zeros went away.
Somebody
But
told me about it. And
okay, that's what it was.
that's what we're thinking. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay. Yes, that's amazing. That's like one of those little just like death by a thousand cuts. Turns out that when you're, planning travel, you enter a lot of prices. So it's pretty nice to not have to delete those every single time. So that's very exciting. This was the one that I definitely saw in the Facebook group. This was the sleuth one where somebody was like, this might be old news, but what can you do now, Molly?
But you can now mark tasks complete right from the overview tab. So this was kind of like a cool backstory. I think it was flagged by a few of our beta testers. Chloe kind of mentioned this also as something like, when you go to the new overview tab, it's now like saving you all these clicks from having to navigate around. But it's like, okay, I did the task and now I just want to like save me like 3 more clicks. So it's just like a fun one to just do pretty quickly as like a fast follow based on the feedback we got on that new tab. And again, like the goal is for it to become kind of your like master dashboard for the trip. And in the coming months, so take those learnings for across all trips, right? And so the more actions you can take from there, I think the more it will serve that purpose. You can also imagine like just quick adding a booking from there and like other things like that. So yeah, we're going to continue to keep an eye out for feedback on that, like that vision of the overview over time.
So cool. And it was interesting too. There was like a couple different like permutations we explored for that. Like, should you sort of click the button and mark it as done? But it was like, oh, that might be too easy to accidentally do. And so I think like the way that we kind of, landed on that, it's like the right amount of super easy, but also not super easy to like accidentally mark stuff as done. So that's pretty cool. And then we also made some updates in the activity setup. Brad, do you want to talk about that one?
Yeah, I think we should actually have our engineer Zach talk about this one because I don't know that Molly or I asked him to do this. He was just like, "You guys, look at this cool new thing that we're gonna do to make it easier to debug stuff," and we were like, "Oh, that's magic!" And the thing he did is just when you're on a trip and you're looking at an activity, say you're editing some details about it, and you scroll down. Now you get to keep the header at the top that has the link to go back to the itinerary, that shows you when the thing's auto saved. It also shows you if for some reason it didn't save, like you made a typo and so there's an error. It'll show you like, hey, this thing didn't save for this reason. And that's right up there at the top of the activity. And yeah, I think this is just a really good example of like one of those small things that is kind of annoying. It's like, oh, I wish that link was there, but it never bothered us enough to like, all right, let's like make sure that thing stays there and is easy to access. So
God, I'm literally learning for the first time that this wasn't a you thing. That
no, this was like a thread in Slack where Zach was like, I was debugging this thing. It's really annoying. I couldn't see the error. And so like, can we just make this always here? And I was like, yeah. So give Zach some more kudos.
Wow, okay. That's my husband. So I'm gonna have to go down to the kitchen and say good job.
You've done well. We'll love that for Zach. And yeah, no, it is like one of those things because it was also, and maybe you said this right, but like if somehow you got into an error state on the activity, the only thing that told you that there was an error was out of view, right? So you're like, yeah, so it's like one of those
worth repeating, I guess.
little thing. Yeah. So anyway.
Okay, but the thing that's going to make people so happy is right now people accidentally click the little back to trips button all the time because like they think, oh, I want to go back to the page I was just on. They previously had seen there was a back button to go back to the itinerary, and they like see that back row and they're like, oh, that's the button. Where now they'll see the right back button there's probably some more things we can clean up there. The right back button there that you can click on to get where you need to go.
Okay, so there's a cool new back button. Just kidding. I'm not going to repeat everything Brad said, but we should move on now to what is coming to Tern next week. We've got some more things because every single week we're shipping updates here at Tern. Molly, you want to kick things off with some organizational updates?
I would love to kick things off. So we're making really good progress on folders. I think it's taking a little longer than we hoped, but like I think the good thing is that the team's taking the time to like what we call refactor and make sure that as we're adding folders to each library item type, it gets like easier and easier with each type because we have it for activity templates and we've learned a lot since we built that. So subfolders should be either like tomorrow or early next week. And then folders for email templates should be like early next week. And then hopefully you'll start to see kind of us cranking pretty consistently on the other folder types. So in the next few weeks, you'll see folders for every library item type. We've already seen just like insane usage for activity templates, which is actually part of the learnings. The amount of kind of scale that we're already hitting with some of these things is impacting search. So more to come there, but that will be something that you're consistently seeing updates on over the next few weeks. And then the other cool thing is our mobile roadmap. So I'm hoping by the end of next week, we'll have to see one of the first kind of pieces of work that team is doing will go live, which is basically providing an alternative way of authenticating for travelers by just like clicking a one-click link. And that will just solve some issues we're seeing specifically with like Gmail apps that we can go into in more depth once we launch it. So that'll be another really, really cool one with more mobile updates coming over the coming weeks.
So exciting. And yes, we won't go into too much detail, but fixing that Gmail problem, we'll say, is going to be just such a leap forward. All right, we've got another piece, and we're going to be covering this again in the live stream. I assume that Flightpath will launch after the live stream, so you can go and find the recording on our YouTube page of what we're talking about at the Romance Forum. But Brad, do you want to talk about maybe a little preview for one of the other major groups updates that we are making?
Yeah, for sure. And yes. We are going to be making it so that you can let your travelers actually pick the dates that they want for their stay. Most often this is for like an all-inclusive or like a destination wedding where you have a room block that has some variability on like what dates actually people want to check in and check out. So you build a set that up where you can put a earliest check-in, latest check-out, minimum number of nights, and then your travelers, when they go to sign up for the group or if they're going to pick the room, they can pick actually which dates they want to be there for. I was sussing this earlier and I just slacked Jade, the piano working with us on this project, and I was like, I feel so grown. I feel like we really grew up. It's like feels like booking now, seeing like date selection for travelers in a way that it hasn't before. So I won't steal your thunder, David. The live stream should be cool, and we'll talk about it more next week, I think, too.
I had the same. I like literally posted, I think, like an hour ago because I'm kind of going through and testing this, and it's just like this is really. Brad put it much more eloquently than I did in Slack, but I was just like, this is really cool. Like this is really really special. So excited to demo that live. But the again the kind of complexity of handling all these different dates, and just want to give out a huge shout out to like the team that has been making this happen. Molly alluded to this earlier, but usually when we do webinars, it literally is like a very fast, I was gonna say it's a sprint, but it's actually not a sprint. It's like a very fast marathon. And you can imagine like the team gets the webinar and it's sort of this like, okay, I just need like some time to like recharge before we like get in the flow for the next one. And essentially what we did was we basically said, okay, webinar's done. We have 11 days until we want these two pretty substantial features ready for the Romance Forum because we know like this is all about groups, right? And like I'll give a shout out to Dana. It was funny, like she's at the Romance Forum. She's a local in Michigan, and so we were talking in December, and she's like, the number one thing I need for my weddings is variable dates, the ability for like people to define when they're going to come and go from the wedding. And so it's like pretty fun that like she's now here where we're going to be demoing and launching this for the first time. And all of that is possible because the kind of whole team just did so much to make that happen. So shout out. It is the highlight of building this business is just the incredible people that we get to do this with, and just like the level of care and grind and hustle that everybody puts in to building something that really matters for all of you. So it's been really fun, and hopefully we can do it justice tomorrow. I'm like a little anxious about it because we have 45 minutes. We're supposed to be half education, half presentation is sort of the contract terms that we have. So I'm like throwing in a couple other like, here's some cool things you can do with AI. But like the real thing we want to talk about is groups and these cool new launches. So we'll definitely talk about it tomorrow. You can check it out on the live stream, but it will also be featured in our next major product launch webinar because it's like just that cool and that special. So that's the week. Anything else that we need to talk about before we call it?
In Philadelphia, if you do a marathon and a half marathon in the same weekend during the marathon weekend, it's called the Liberty Bell Challenge, and people do this to themselves, and I don't understand why, but that's what the team's doing.
Oh, it's like we should get everyone some like little bells or something. That would be fun.
Yeah, we'll workshop that.
That's such a great way to diffuse the situation. Be like, yeah, that's really interesting. Let's keep that conversation going. On that note, thank you for tuning in, everybody. As always, it has been fun spending this time with you. Thank you for listening, whether you're driving, you're watching us on your living room TV on a Saturday morning, wherever you're calling in, listening in, watching from. We are grateful that you spent this time with us. Don't forget to click the subscribe button, like, add a comment, and that's all we've got for this week. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.